Everybody, welcome back to another episode of Dead Reckoning, Above the Pay Grade, and this time, Brian, as much as I fancy myself a musician,
yes, and I do too. I do as well.
Yeah. The occasional artiste when it comes to film, we're not nearly as accomplished as this guy.
So we are going above the pay grade today.
The great Chris Taylor is with us today. Chris, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. That's the first time I've ever heard that sentence. The great Chris Taylor.
I don't believe it. Chris, I see that you brought your own in-studio audience to us today.
I brought the only friends I have left, the only friends that come see me play, and they come to all my gigs.
That's fantastic. So you created that artwork. You are an artist as well as a musician. Is that correct?
That's correct. I was. I hesitate to call myself an artist, like the way real artists think of themselves. But I've always scribbled and drawn on pieces of paper ever since I was a little kid, and now I've just chosen to do it on bigger pieces of paper and canvases and stuff. So whether that makes me an artist or not, I don't know, but I love what I do, and a few other people do too, so that makes me happy.
Well, that's legit. Now, for those of you that are familiar with any sort of Christian music history, you might recognize a few of these names. Mike Rowe, Love Coma, Matt Slocum. I mean, these are all the caliber of people that Chris has had the opportunity.
Vigilantes of Love.
VOL. Man, I saw them live one time in Chicago.
Yeah.
It was a phenomenal show. Chris, what are you up to now? I mean, you're obviously not doing any touring. You're not signed to anybody. Well, you might be touring. I don't know. Are you touring?
I'm not touring. No, I'm not. I'm sort of on this endless tour of San Antonio.
Great, cool, yeah, big city. There, lots of scope there.
Yeah, there's a lot of hidden places to play and make some noise, and this is where I am. This is where I'm living, and I get to get some pretty consistent gigs from month to month, and it allows me to make a very meager living at best, but something I can be very proud of and happy with. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. But you never know. You never know. I always keep my options open. You know, Nashville is a heartbeat and a phone call away, and I have a lot of friends there. And so if it makes sense, it could be in the future.
How has this journey from, I think before the show you mentioned you had 27 records that failed, or something comical like that.
That didn't make it.
Something like that. Yeah.
They may not fail, but so, I mean, how has that journey as an artist, once having, kind of reached the pinnacle of saying, well, I've finally, I could say I've finally made it. I've got a record deal. How has that shaped you from that point on to kind of where you are now?
Well, it's really interesting because there's a million reasons why a million different people get involved in music. Some get involved with it because they've learned their instrument and they're brilliant at it, and then they go make music. Others want to pick up chicks, and the fastest way to pick up a chick is to pick up a guitar.
No, I thought it was drumsticks, wasn't it?
Those guys drool.
It costs a little more money to pick up drums, and you have to set up and tear down your own equipment.
Good
and I don't know if the chicks are willing to wait around that way. But with that said, for me, it was a way to sort of get all of my inner funk out in a sort of just to get out there. It wasn't because I knew how to play an instrument very well, or it wasn't because I thought I was a great singer or anything like that. So it was a way to sort of get all of this stuff that was inside of me out. And so, but to specifically answer your question, it's like, so doing all of that, I kind of grew up with, stars in my eyes, thinking, okay, you put out a record, and then you tour, and maybe you get famous, or you get some sort of fame along the way, and you sort of gradually grow. And I had little bits and pieces and tastes of that, and then my path just went, it was like everything I was reaching for, I saw myself drifting away from. Like, even though I really wanted fame up to a certain point, and even though I really wanted people's attention up to a certain point, my life took a sort of this really strange off the beaten path angle to where I was like, oh wow, what I want is way over there, and I am way over here. What do I do now? And I'm sure that probably brings up 18 million more questions for you guys.
Yeah.
But I think that where I am now is that I am so grateful that I've gotten a chance to forge my own little trail, my own little path. And even though I don't have what I thought I wanted way back then, a massive audience, a big record deal, fame, now I have this great sense of looking back on my music, my artwork, the people that I know, my circle of friendships that I've built all along the way, and realize that I cultivated all that. That wasn't something anybody handed to me. That wasn't something that I just got on a silver platter. It was like hard work, blood, sweat, tears, and I get to look back on 27 records or however many it is now, and be so grateful for every one of those, and not have to look back at it and think, oh, somebody forced me to do that, or somebody, or I did that just to fulfill an obligation, but it wasn't an artistic statement that I wanted to make. I mean, I have a great, rich history to look back on, and to me, that's what makes it much more of a success now, even though the rest of the world would not think of that as being successful at all. They'd think, well, if we don't know your name, if you're not twerking at the VMAs, then you're not successful. So yeah.
Next year, Chris is going to be invited to the VMAs to show. No,
some twerking.
So Chris, well, it's just that's a really great testimony. So it sounds as though, I mean, maybe the values of the world may have at one time inspired you, and now you're looking back over sort of the journey that God's taken you on, and you're realizing that you're seeing the value in 27 albums, however many years of creativity, just being faithful, doing what you're doing, forming relationships, and now you can look back and say, no, that's real value.
Yeah. I think what so many artists, musicians, people, creative people in general, and maybe even people in the normal business world, I think what we forget, I know for a fact what I forget daily almost, is that the joy is not really in the destination. It's not achieving, it's not like realizing, oh, I've just come all this way and now I'm finally reached a point where I can be joyful as I look back on my life. For me, it's find the joy in what you're doing right now. Find it when no one cares about you. No one cares about your little record that you're making at home. No one cares that about your next drawing or painting. And find the comfort and the joy in loving what you do so much that you would do it if nobody was paying attention at all. And to me, that was the ultimate thing. Playing the live shows for 10 people here, 20 people there, 100 people here, going back home and painting in silly paintings like this for no one but myself. And then it's even more rewarding when you show it out to the world or whatever, and it gets any sort of attention at all. Is just sort of the icing on the cake compared to what it made me feel inside while I was doing it, I have so many friends that made records that have miserable experiences because all they can remember is the argument with the drummer, or the stress and tension they had with the producer, or the fights between the band. And I'm like, you can't even hear those songs without even thinking about the misery you went through. And I'm like, man, I want my records to be snapshots of my life where if I were to hear those songs again, they can be something that reminds me of a great season in my life, or something, going through the trenches, or I don't know, but finding that joy, I think, is everything to me.
It really strikes me as you were talking. I was thinking about just even like the the New Testament, it often talks to slaves serving their masters. These are the people who are of no consequence at all, who don't do work that's noticed at all, and yet there's this great inspiring thing that you can do this as to the Lord, with joy in your heart, the menial task. If you're a janitor, or you're playing for 10 people, or you're doing whatever, you can find this fulfillment right there, in the moment for what you're doing. This is something higher than yourself, I guess.
I like it.
Yeah.
So Chris, when you're kind of working on your artwork, what's kind of driving you behind some? I mean, I'm looking at this picture, and I'm like, I totally dig it. Like, it just has that style. And on your website, you've done some work on your guitar.
Yeah. Did you actually paint on your guitar, by the way?
Oh yeah. If the kids would stand still long enough, I'd probably paint them too. I paint pretty much everything in the house if the wife won't kill me. So, but I'm fortunate enough to have great family support that actually likes looking at my craziness.
That's cool.
So, I don't know, the driving force behind what I do, it's so weird. Most of my artwork, my visual stuff, is very stream of conscious. So I don't think about it. I don't think about it while I'm doing it. It sounds very bizarre, but I just do it, and whatever happens, and whatever it is, it is. And a lot of times when it's just a blank canvas, when it's when it's just this, and I go to and I'm staring at this, going,
what are you gonna do?
What am I gonna do? This cost me however much money, this piece of canvas or this whatever it is. So I'm like, oh man, it better be good, or else I'll blow $20 or I'll blow $70. And and I got the CPS bill due, so I can't afford to blow $70. So a lot of times you're just kind of like, all right, what am I going to do? And then I start to overthink it, and then I'm like, well, what am I going to do? A picture of Jesus? No, he's been done a million times. Am I going to do what is it? So the best thing to do is to erase. If you can get to that really pure place in your mind where you don't have the distractions of the day or your own inner distractions cluttering up your mind, and you just draw something. So,
don't let us distract you now.
No, I know we're in the middle of something very important here. So, it can be anything. It can be this strange face, strange something that just says, hello, I'm here. I don't even know what I'm even saying. It's very strange. Sometimes I'll actually do this live while I'm playing music. If I have my loop station set up, and I can kind of create this moment where the music is being spontaneously created and the artwork is being spontaneously created. And some nights it's a train wreck. And some nights...
Hey, I'm glad you can admit that. There's a lot of performance artists who think, hey, no matter what happens, it's like awesome, right?
Yeah, but the thing is though, we tend to overthink things, and we think, well, we think it's a train wreck. We don't like what we've just done.
Right.
But it doesn't necessarily mean somebody else may or may not like what you're doing. And so the thing is that with art, that's the great thing about it, is there's really no mistakes. And you can make something very beautiful out of a mistake, or out of just a strange face. We're like, what is this? What's happening here? You just don't know. And so the idea is, it starts off something like this, and it ends up something like,
like that.
Something like that. And who knows? And who knows what this is? This might just be a picture of the church, full of chaos and strangers and friends and people we don't trust and people we love with all of our hearts, I mean, isn't that the church?
I dig it.
I love it. I love it.
Dig it.
Well, unfortunately, Chris, we're running out of time. YouTube has this 20-minute time limit on their videos. So
It's all right.
Such is life. But no, I'd love to have you on again sometime. We can delve a little more into faith and art and kind of the manifestation of our faith through art, which is kind of an intriguing topic, and for me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But
very good. Yeah.
No, it's been great to have you on the show.
Absolutely.
It's been awesome to be on the show. I really appreciate it very much.
All right.
Thank you. All right, Chris, we'll talk to you later.
Have a good one. We'll see you guys.
Yeah.